Welcome to the Stone Hood Show, everybody. Today I'm going to cut through all the BS, I'm going to cut through all the preamble, and I want to get down to brass tacks. And I want to talk about something that's very important to me. And in return, I think it could be important to you. Who knows? It might be. But that is creation. I feel that each of us in our own way go through the process of creation, whether it is in your job, whether it's in your personal life, whether it's in your artistic life, whatever it is, wherever you kind of turn, there's opportunity for creation. There's opportunity to involve yourself in the creative process. And what I want to talk about in the instance of the creative process is where we all derive inspiration from and where we're able to figure it out and to take something from a blank canvas or a blank document or a blank sheet of paper or wherever your craft takes you into the finished product, into the finished piece of work that you do. Now, for everybody it's different, and I'm sure for myself, I do not share the same creative process as anybody else on the face of the planet. It might be similar, might have similar quirks and similar things that allow me to go from nothing to something. But it's completely different from everybody else's. And I don't want to talk about my own. I'm actually kind of sick and tired of placing anything that is my own on a pedestal, because I believe that is the truest form of egotism that exists in today's world, and I feel like it's very self-serving to just talk about yourself. I want to, though, and I will inject a bit of my own experience with being a creator into this conversation with myself about the creative process, but and how I uniquely look at it. But I just want to talk about it in a general kind of way and see if this connects and see if this is something that works. Now, whether you're a painter, whether you're an artist, whether you are a musician, whether you are a graphic designer, or in what my chosen field is film and video production, we each go through this creative process differently. And now there is a belief system that a lot of people hold, many people hold, of tapping into an energy, tapping into a source of undistinguishable power that kind of exists in the world, and that almost being the muse of your creation. Others believe that just through hard work, preparation, and planning, they're able to sift through their mind, or sift through creation, or sift through somebody else's work if it's already a pre-made work, if they're converting a novel, if they're deriving inspiration from a certain piece of art or work. And other people simply sit down and just go with what's in their soul and goes with and whatever's in their mind and follow more of an analytical approach to it. Now, there's nothing that says either one of these ways is right, because if you try to do your own creative process in a different way, you can tamper with your own work, and you can tamper with your own process. And I feel that us as creators, we owe it to ourselves, we owe it to the world to speak what's uniquely your own perspective. And now that can be contrived and that can be manipulated to fit your own benefits and what your own gains are as a person, to make you kind of elevated, or to make you look smart, or to make you look a certain way. But the reality is that what's more interesting, in my point of view, and I would think that many share this, is the honesty of the human spirit. And now I relate more with a work that is honest into who a person really is, and into their own unique perspective of the world. It's why I love directors such as Paul Thomas Anderson, who tells stories that are not mainstream. They're abstract, and they're about bizarre things sometimes, and they're about thinking deeper about life and not just on the surface level of things. And then you have just artists and painters and creators and musicians that aren't operating just on surface level of what we see. And now it can get really, really, really woo-woo really fast when you start talking about this, and I don't want to deviate there. What I want to talk about, though, is why that is important, and why I feel that we all come down to that at one point or another in our lives, where we make a decision to either create what speaks to us or to not. And that can manifest in many different ways, and you can be very successful when you don't do it, and you can talk about things that you might not even be interested in, or you can create things that you might, and there's so many people that do that, and there's so many different people that do things that don't enliven their soul with a sense of wonderment and a sense of limitless possibilities of life that stems from their work. You can show up like it's a job, and you can approach it as a job, and you're there to just work. But where you can tap into something special is when you're able to really truly speak to your soul. And that's why I feel that so many musicians, they go down a path with a band, or they go down a path with music, and then they take a totally left turn and go into another realm of music and into a different field of creation, because you've run down a certain path. And when you go down that path, you can either like what you see and like what you feel, or not. And for those that have that brave stance to step out of that path, that person is choosing to be true to themselves. And the same can go with films, and the same when you see a very, very famous director, or very popular director, or a very talented director go down the path of very big budget movies and stuff like that, and then they take a left turn and they go down small budget films, and a lot of that can be obviously contributed to the lack of jobs, or the lack of like scripts that they're very interested in, but in a lot of cases, that director might not have been true to themselves, and they went down a path that led them to create something that they felt wasn't truly from their own perspective and from their heart. And so they decided to go down another path that allows them to create something that is more aligned with what they do. Same with the art, same with any different field of creativity, is that there's a certain path that we must go down first. I think there's obviously a beginner's path now for the certain geniuses and the certain people that naturally come to a thing in the world that is truly meant for them, and they are inclined to do it. You have your 11-year-old musician who's able to play Eddie Van Halen perfectly. Now that you don't see the 11 years of practice that they put in, but there are certain people that are more inclined to do something better than others at the beginning. But it does level out, and it does even out. And we as normal human beings who aren't Mozarts, and who aren't people that are geniuses from the get-go, or have the knack to really be the greatest ever, for most of us that create, we go through the process of those first really uncomfortable baby steps of following a formula that we take from the world. And where it gets, in my opinion, it gets very scary, is developing your own perspective. And this is where I get very uncomfortable, because I don't want to tell a person to not do something that is creative, because I feel like it's the greatest thing ever. But I feel like if we continue to copy things, and we continue to just rehash and just redo what other people have done, I feel like we'll build a block. I feel like for anybody out there that's wanting to get into creativity, you have to go through that first stage of the creative perspective. But when you get to the point where you feel like you can develop your own voice, you have to make this very scary decision and do that. and take your own perspective. And a lot of the times, for most of us, no one's going to watch it. No one's going to listen to it. No one's going to care about it. And it's going to continue that way for a very long time. In what may feel to you like a very long time, depending on what your perspective is. But the reality of that is you're being true to yourself. You're being true to your creative process. And when you're able to really tap into what you want to say and how you want to say it, even if no one listens and no one cares, the fulfillment you will feel when somebody actually does care. Somebody actually does kind of pop their head up and say, hey, I appreciate what you do. There's a feeling inside when you've done it the right way that is inexplicable. And when you find that feeling after you've done something that you feel is truly your own from your own perspective, now people will make arguments that subconsciously nothing is from our own perspective, but I would argue against that, because we all have different ways of viewing the world, and we have all different ways of interpreting things and all different ways of getting through the creative process. But when you create something that's uniquely your own, you send it out into the world. I guess it's the closest thing to parenthood or to having a child, because you've placed something into the world and people are receiving it. However they receive it, it does connect with you. And when somebody enjoys it, there's a, for me it would be paternal, for I think for the ladies out there, I think it would be a maternal feeling that you've pride in your work and you're proud of what you put out there, and when it does ring to some success, there's just this inexplicable feeling of joy, and that's what the creative process is about. It's about going through every stage. It's about going through the inspiration stage. It's about going through the replication stage of trying to figure your voice out, of trying different things, of replicating a certain aesthetic that you enjoyed, and then tearing that down and putting up your own thing, totally destroying that thought process of creation, of having things in your heart that you really like and enjoy, but then having to kill your darlings on that, destroy that construct of what you enjoy, and do something that's your own, that is the unknown, and being brave enough to kind of venture into that dark place of the creative process of where it can lead you, and holding your torch and just marching forward through the unknown, and through doing that, through tapping into the creative processing and tapping into the soul of your own universe, you begin to find self-actualization. You begin to find things that in your world manifest uniquely through your soul. And whether one person watches it, or 1 million or 10 million or 100 million, you'll have fulfillment in yourself because you're creating something from your own heart. You're allowing yourself to sync up with the ephemeral world around you that we don't see every day, that world that exists outside of reality. And through whatever art form or craft that you have, you find peace, and you find that undefinable aesthetic of life. And then you send it into the world. And however it's received is how it's received, and you can hold in your heart that you were brave enough to do something that was yours. All right, guys. I love you. I'll talk to you next time.